Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. It is the post 90-minute session of the preseason friendly against Universitario. Final score 0-0, a potential penalty not called on Santi Morales in the final moments. They are going to do penalties again, but I thought I should just go live and get some thoughts out because I do know last game mine and Sora's opinions were sort of altered based on what happened in penalties, and I think that's unfair because it's just a preseason penalty shootout. So I wanted to just go off and give some thoughts, and please, guys, get in the chat, and as the penalties are unfolding, we can react to them. But also, I kind of want to get some thoughts out before everything gets muddied up by what happens here with the penalties. So couple thoughts. First of all, Inter Miami came out, and I think Universitario was ready for them to control the game, and it didn't really work out that way. I thought Miami played well for the first 20 minutes or so, but then Universitario rebounded and then kind of realized they could control the midfield as they wanted to. And so from the 20th minute on until the sub started coming on in the 65th minute, it felt like Universitario's game. That was just how I watched it. It's a preseason game. It's okay. It's not the end of the world or anything like that. So I thought there was definitely some things to go over. I think if we were going to do a really in-depth review of this game like we would for a regular season game, I think there'd be a lot to go over. But I think we saw similar to in terms of what Javier Mascherano put out there compared to what we saw last week against Club America. And I thought the results were much different. I thought Universitario knew how to play. I think being in a back five and having the central center back and the central defensive midfielder sort of man-marking Messi the entire game really limited what Inter Miami could do creatively. And I think they needed more from their wingers in this game in response, and they didn't really get it. Fafa and Tadeo Allende, neither one had a particularly standout performance. Again, it's preseason. It's fine. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but I think that's why it didn't really work that well going into the game. I think the biggest thing is the midfield. Big talking point coming out of last game was Redondo and Busquets in the midfield. I've said continuously that I think it's going to be Redondo and Busquets as the two in the partnership, with Messi as sort of the head of the triangle, and obviously understanding that that's going to be a lot of defensive and midfield responsibility going to the two midfielders, because Messi is more of a second striker than a midfielder. I think that, to me, it was very obvious that we didn't have enough ball winning ability in the midfield. Busquets and Redondo, that's not really their specialty. Both are especially Busquets is great in possession and is smart and knows where to be, but he's not a ball winner like a Diego Gomez was. And I think when you saw Yannick Bright and you saw Benjamin Carrasco and you saw David Ruiz come on, you saw more of the ball winning ability. And I think that made it a little bit easier for us to not just sit back and just let Universitario control the game, control possession, and do what they want to do. The penalties are about to start, so I apologize if I get distracted. Universitario is going first. I love seeing Ian Frey get back on the field. That was really cool. He's ahead of schedule, and that's awesome. He's such a good player. And so I thought he might get a really slow start to the season. I thought he would miss preseason. I thought he would take him a couple months to earn the trust of the coaches to give him real run. And if he's here now, I think he can get off the ground running this season, which is a blessing for him, a blessing for Inter Miami, because he is amazing. And so I'm just really, really excited about Ian Frey getting back. Oscar Scotty, I thought he had some really nice moments. He didn't have any spectacular moments, but he looked calm, confident, had a number of saves because Inter Miami was giving up a lot of chances. So that was good to see. I mean, it's what you would expect from a quality veteran like he is. So no doubt a good performance from Oscar Scotty. Tadeo Allende, I was surprised at how tall he looks, or how tall he is, how long he is. I guess that's nice. He did look athletic. I don't think he had any moments that really stood out as super impressive. He lost the ball a couple of times, but listen, it's his first game. I don't think he's even practiced with the team, and he is still adjusting to what life is like at Inter Miami. So I'm not worried that I wasn't wowed by his performance. I think he'll be much better as the weeks go on. And I think, I don't think we got a real taste of who he is as a player yet. I thought he looked a little nervous and struggled to get into the game a little bit. I thought he did have a couple interchanges with Luis Suarez, which I thought was interesting. By the way, it's 1-1 on penalties. Gressel just knocked it in. Maybe. Yeah, 1-1 on penalties. So, yeah, I don't think we saw the best of Allende tonight, and that's fine. It's the first preseason game. It's his debut. I still think we're going to have to watch a few more games before we really understand what he is as a player. Fafa, again, also not that impressive. I think they needed more from their wingers to really exploit this back line, and they didn't really get it. This experience, though, I thought was great for the players. 80,000 people on the road. I think this is exactly what it's going to be like at the Azteca, at Monterrey, at somewhere in Mexico City. If Inter Miami has to go on the road in the CONCACAF Champions Cup for a do or die game, potentially in the final, this is what it would look like from an experience perspective. And I think it's really good for Inter Miami to get that 80,000, an incredible environment. And so proud of, impressed by the Universitario crowd and the Peru crowd for making such a great environment. I wanted to say that. I'll get to your guys' chats in a second. I just want to get through everything, and then because I'm kind of just watching the penalties as they go. I talked about the midfield. I think it's really interesting that Santi Morales has gotten continuous game time. I think he had some really nice moments. I think he almost earned a penalty to win the game. He just hit his penalty in penalties. The fact that he's gotten back-to-back run when guys like Leo Alfonso haven't, I think is interesting. I think that Mascherano wants a number 10. And so to have a young player that he can groom into that role, especially when there isn't a true number 10 other than Messi on the team, I think is going to earn Santi Morales a couple minutes. And also I think he looks more prepared for the professional game than I think he's looked in the past, which is really nice. I thought Toto Avios played really well. Especially in the first half. I think the midfield did the defense no favors, but I thought he, in individual situations, played really well as the Universitario player skies it. Benjamin Kramaski came back from national team with some confidence, had some sizzle today. I really like that. And then Ian Frey, I already mentioned it, but him being back is just amazing. Yeah, Sean says we're trying to watch PKs. Why are you live? Yeah, no, that's fair. Maybe I should just react to the PKs. Inter Miami has a chance to go up here with the next one because the Universitario player went up. I missed it. Sean says that starting midfield was a mess. David Ruiz looks like he hits it. 3-2 Inter Miami, and now they have an opportunity to really take this game away. Busquets, Messi, Suarez, and Jordi Alba, I thought they were all fine. They were who they were. I think Jordi Alba was a little upset that he had to play a little bit extra, but that's okay. Yeah, I thought it was really good from Inter Miami. From the defense, Sean says that Toto and Allen pairing has looked really good in 2 games. I agree. I think it's a good pair. I think they complement each other well, and I think in the MLS that'll work, especially with what Noah Allen has become over the last last 10 games that he's played or so. He's really been impressive. So it's 3-3. Universitario ties it up with their 4th penalty, but if Inter Miami hits their last 2, they will win. I think I messed up by going live too early, but that's okay. Let's see. Cello, I thought he had a really quiet game. I thought we might learn more about what exactly his role is going to be in this system. And I didn't feel like it was a significant uptick in usage, even though I think at least early in the game, Inter Miami tried to have the ball more. I did feel like this game looked a lot more like last year's team than this year. Kramaski hits it. So if Miami hits their next penalty, they will win the game. And of course, Kramaski hits it. He's got ice in his blood. And I was just talking about how he came back from national team camp with a lot of confidence. What did you guys think, though? I mean, I want to hear from you guys. Get in the chat. Of course, I understand that once penalties will go over, it will be over. We'll get a lot more people in the chat. But yeah. No Leo Alfonso today, which I thought was disappointing, not surprising, but disappointing just because I think he really showed me something in that last game. I think he adds a goal scoring threat that Inter Miami really can use off the bench. When you don't have Messi and Suarez, but like when those guys come out, I think you could really use a guy like Leo Alfonso because it feels like he has some danger in his game. And I really appreciate that. Okay, who's up for number 5? Looks like Yannick Bright coming up with a chance to win the game. He is number 5. Inter Miami, if they hit this, will win in penalties. Do we have confidence in Yannick? Yes, we do. Yannick Bright wins it for Inter Miami, and Inter Miami goes 2-0 to start the preseason. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to everyone that played. I really, really enjoyed penalties. I really enjoyed. I think a lot of this game was frustrating to watch as a fan, but I think was very informative about what we can expect from this team going forward. I think Javier Mascherano was put out what worked, and I think it didn't work as well in this game. So now how is he going to react to that? How is he going to change things up? I think all offseason he's had this vision in his head of this 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1 setup with Messi as a true central attacking midfielder. And I'm not sure if it's going to work based on the midfield. I think the midfield is the weakness. And so do you have the right personnel to get the midfield to work? Is the system going to work in the MLS? I think those are the interesting questions. It's game 2 of the preseason, so it's okay. It doesn't matter that they got overwhelmed today. I do think you want to see Redondo and Busquets be a little bit better. I think we saw a little bit of an adjustment today where Busquets stayed back a little bit and played more as that true sort of defensive midfielder and was the farther back of the two for the majority of the time. He did go forward a little bit, but I think it was much more about Redondo getting the opportunity to be the higher up player. And I don't think that's just my opinion. I don't think that's the way that Inter Miami is going to have the most success this year. Okay, now that people are starting to come in, let's get into it. Messi TV says Suarez didn't play well today, and he's complaining a lot too. That is, from my everything I've seen over the last year, exactly what and who Luis Suarez is. He is a guy that is going to show up for you in the biggest moments and provide a lot of goals and a lot of big time moments. But at the same time, he's going to be frustrating. And when it doesn't come off for him, it can be ugly to watch. He has looked more athletic than he did last year, I think. But if that starts to wane again, you'll see times where he just looks like he can't get into the game. But you keep him in there because he's really capable of those one moments of magic. At any point. Sean says, I agree. This game was a lot of Tata in last year. Yeah, I was thinking to myself as the game was going on, there was a lot of games last year that felt exactly like this from Inter Miami. They just found ways to win them, right? Like so many of those game winners that we idolize, that Philadelphia game winner with Yannick Bright and Leo Alfonso, the Kramaski game winner at Charlotte, the Leo Campana game winners at Toronto and versus DC. Like these were the same styles of games from minute to minute. It's just that Inter Miami found a way to win in the dying breaths. And of course, they do it tonight again in penalties. You won't get that luxury during the regular season, but if you can find ways to win games where you don't play great, I think that is awesome. The other thing I will say is Tata Martino is a coach in his mid-60s. And so when he does something, you don't expect him to learn from it and make huge adjustments. I think that we might get more of that from Javier Mascherano. Like, I think he's going to grow on the job. This is his first coaching job, of course, first coaching job at club level, first coaching job at club level, not just as the head coach, but even as assistant. So I think he's going to learn and be a little bit quicker to make adjustments. You know, things that we complained about with Tata, we knew they weren't going to change because this is who Tata was. This is who Tata's been for the last 30 years. I think with Javier Mascherano, there's at least some hope that he will find the rhythm, find ways to improve himself. And so if he's waiting too long on subs, we can at least have hope that he's going to get better at that. If he's, you know, a million different things that go into coaching, but things that I think Tata Martino got consistently wrong or was consistently frustrating about, we knew he wasn't going to change. I think with Javier Mascherano, there's a real chance that he does change. Brad says it seemed that Messi had a lot of poor passes. Man, he looked like he was in preseason mode, but I thought that if one or two moments go his way, he scores 2 goals and we talk about how great he played. So I'm not worried about it at all. Bright with the winner. You love to see the young guys too, right? It was Ruiz and Kramaski and Yannick Bright and Santi Morales. And those were the guys that were hitting the winners for Inter Miami. Julian Gressel too, who probably could have really used seeing the ball go in the back of the net. 2-0 says Circus Fun. Trafalgar says having young technical players like Morales, Segovia, and Kramaski is very exciting for this club. I completely agree. I think Inter Miami has so much young and exciting talent, and it's not just the guys you mentioned, but you throw in Yannick Bright, you throw in even Redondo, and you throw in like a lot of these young players. Inter Miami, I know we lost a couple with Facundo Farias and Leo Campana leaving, but there's really a ton of young, promising talent on this roster, and it's really exciting for the future. Sean says Javi has definitely told Cello to stop rushing forward. I think that's how Cello plays best, but I also think that you might be able to get more out of a right back. And so, listen, when Ian Frey was healthy last year, it was a huge conversation between Cello Wiegand and Ian Frey at that right back spot. Ian Frey's healthy again. We haven't really had that conversation for the past 4 months, but Ian Frey's healthy again. So we will see if he is if he's a guy that Javier Mascherano sees as a right back. Obviously, he played him as a center back tonight, but it's just preseason. And then Gonzalo Lujan, I think, is going to figure out a way to find some minutes at right back too. So we'll have to see what he looks like, who he is as a player. Sean says that Redondo is the weakness. He leaves the space too many times. I agree. It's not a technical ability. It's not a physical ability thing with Redondo. It's just mental, man. He doesn't have the ability to read passes. He doesn't have the ability to fill space defensively. He doesn't have the ability to be in the right place at the right time. And when you compare it to, you know, I know we talk about Yannick Bright all the time, but even like a Dixon Arroyo or a Gregor, like there's so many defensive midfielders that just have that instinct that Redondo just doesn't have. And so, you know, Justin's saying Redondo was better. I agree. He didn't turn the ball over. He didn't have a ton of mistakes, but it's not who he is as a player. It's who he's not as a player that I think is frustrating, because you can see this midfield really needs a defensive presence that can win the ball back for you. So you're not just pushing forward and then crashing back defensively and letting them hold possession and control the game. You really need a ball winner in the midfield, and that's not necessarily Redondo. You know, I think back to last year, and if you had Diego Gomez being that wrecking ball in the midfield with Yannick Bright just always being in the right spot, it could have been amazing. And we never really got to see it, which was disappointing. Ash says, can't wait for our reinforcements. So let's see. Gonzalo Lujan, right back, center back. I think that's going to be exciting to have that piece, because I think we need some depth there. I think Maxi Falcone as a center back, I'm very excited to see what he can bring to the table. And then Telasco Segovia, I've said this before, he's my favorite signing. He's the guy I'm most excited to see. And so I agree with you. I'm really excited to see them. I still think we might add another piece or two going forward. And so, you know, we'll see. We'll have to see how that shakes out. But I think the team does want to add another piece or two, maybe obviously a backup striker, but maybe even sort of an attacking midfielder, wide player, you know, Baltasar Rodriguez, Facundo Farias type player. If not one of those two, obviously not Facundo Farias. Anton says Allende did not impress. I agree. I talked about this in the beginning, but I know it was during penalties, so not everyone was in the chat at the time. I think that Universitario did a good job of man marking Messi with their central center back and their central defensive midfielder. And it made it very difficult for him to get on the ball in space. And so in exchange, they left open the wide areas. And I didn't think Tadeo Allende or Fafa Pico really did a good enough job of taking advantage of that. I don't think either played really particularly well today. That's okay. It's preseason. We already saw Fafa have a better performance in pink last week, so I'm not worried about him. Tadeo Allende, listen, it's on the road. It's in front of a big crowd. It's his first game playing with Messi. He doesn't exactly know how to play with Messi. He hasn't practiced with the team yet. I definitely have grace for him, and certainly I expect him to be back in the lineup on Sunday in the next game against San Miguelito, and I think we'll see better from him over the next couple of games, and I am excited for that. I agree he didn't dazzle in his debut, but and Blaze says something similar. I didn't think he dazzled in his debut, but that's okay. You don't have to dazzle in your debut to become a good player. By the way, Soar had an emergency today. I'm not even sure what it was about, but that's why he couldn't be at the pregame show. That's why I can't be here. I'm hoping everything's okay with him, but I'll probably figure out what's going on with him tomorrow. Mr. Miami Knight said, felt like an unorganized attack, then running back to defend. That's exactly what it felt like because it didn't feel like we got enough from our wide players. I will say, against Club America, it did feel like Fafa Bico and Robert Taylor on the right really put an emphasis on staying wide, keeping toes or heels to the baseline, and just playing very wide to create space. It didn't feel like Fafa or Tadeo Allende had that same emphasis today. So I do wonder if that's part of it, but I also just think that Universitario did a really good job of clogging up the middle against Messi, not letting him become an important player in this game. And I don't think Suarez or Allende or Fafa Pico really picked up the slack. And again, it's preseason. It's game 2. It's not the end of the world. Anton says, Kremaski looked better than last year. Yeah, again, I said at the beginning, but he had some spiciness to him. He's certainly coming off some confidence from that national team duty. Hold on one second. Too much back passing and lost possessions. I agree. They were just trying to hit too quickly. They didn't feel like they were calm enough, and it was an experience for them, but it didn't feel like they had it going forward. Messi, I thought was okay, but Suarez, Allende, and Pico, I didn't think had great games. David says Suarez needs to stop screaming at his teammates because when he does, no one tells him anything. Yeah, I think that's the privilege of being Luis Suarez, right? Anton says calendar over Ustari. I mean, Ustari is smart, but not as good at shot stopping. Yeah, Ustari had Ustari was fine today. He didn't put a foot wrong. He looked very comfortable. Inter Miami, especially in that middle 40 minutes from the 20th minute to the 60th minute. Universitario was clearly in charge of the game, and they created a number of shots. They didn't force him to make an incredible save, but he made all the routine plays. So I thought it was a very comfortable performance from Ustari, very positive, and so yeah, good performance from Ustari. I think this is what we should expect from Oscar Ustari, is solid, dependable, very good at just being a rock back there because he's the veteran, right? Ash says Ustari, and Thomas says Ustari over Drake. Ustari is more comfortable. Thomas says Redondo was much better. We just need to be patient. Listen, this is game 2 of the preseason. Let's make that clear. These guys have not practiced together more than 2 weeks. Some of the new faces have never practiced. Allende doesn't feel like he practiced with them at all because he didn't have his work permit. So I think that this is it's okay. Like, individual performances can be up and down in the preseason. That's okay. It is, especially for the veterans, especially for the guys that are just getting into the team. Like, that's okay. As long as you see some snippets of good things, then I think you should feel comfortable with them, especially if they're guys you've seen a lot from before. Manash says, how much do you rate this game out of 15? Out of 15. What an interesting number. I don't know, like a 6. There was a lot of games last year like this. I really do feel that way. And it's just Inter Miami found ways to win those games. But they just looked a little lackluster, and that's okay. It's because it's preseason. It's okay. The short passing game wasn't working against a fast defense. I agree, and I don't think they did a particularly good job of creating good triangles, but that is what it is. Um, Jay says Suarez and Messi were off today. Fafa so far doesn't look like he incorporates well with Messi and Suarez. I think Russell needs to be incorporated some more. His passing was evident when he came on. Yeah, listen, I think one of the positives about tonight's game was the subs made a positive impact, and I thought they looked good. Bright comes in and he just starts winning the ball, man. It's something else, especially when you watch Redondo and Busquets before, because he just is always in the right spot. Kermaski had some really nice moments. Santi Morales had some really nice moments. It was great to see Ian Frey. Ryan Taylor gets his debut, a preseason debut. And so, yeah, some of the substitutes, and Robert Taylor and Julian Gressel, of course, came on. And I think you got to feel really good about the depth for Inter Miami this year, especially considering we still are going to get Maxi Falcone and Gonzalo Lujan and especially Telasco Segovia. Samuel says, we need to give Redondo a chance. He got potential. I'm sorry, but Bright needs to do better. Who his passes. You guys are watching something different than me, because I don't think Bright and Redondo are like significantly different. Like, I get Redondo has a high ceiling. He's very athletic, got a great build for the position, and he does have a higher technical floor, but like he misses passes and gives the ball away too. I don't know. Justin says Ustari, and yeah, good. I thought he was really comfortable tonight. Bright just needs to be better with his passes. He needs to show Mascherano that he needs to start. Listen, here's the other thing about Bright. Like, there's two aspects to winning soccer games. It's score more goals or concede less goals than the other team. And the way the midfield is set up right now, I don't know if the personnel works. So we'll have to see if Mascherano adjusts, how he adjusts. I thought, based on the way the first game went, you could feel comfortable going into the next game like that. Now I think you saw some of the weaknesses. How does Mascherano make adjustments in this game for the next game? Sorry. But again, I keep saying it. I think Busquets and Redondo is who's going to start that first real game. But who's going to be the starter a month later? That's, I think, a much more interesting question. And, that's going to be played out on the field. Nathan says, do you know if the upcoming preseason games will have an English option? The team is followed by a global and U.S. audience. I don't have any idea. I was surprised that this game was in Spanish. So I feel bad for people that don't speak and don't understand Spanish, because I wouldn't enjoy watching a game in French or something like that. So I don't know. Sorry, but I hope so. I enjoy games in English more than Spanish too. Paulo says, have to see if Mascherano can be more tactically flexible. And I think that's the big thing is, with Javier Mascherano, we can at least hope that he's going to learn on the job, and he's going to be able to figure things out in a way that I don't think we had that confidence, or at least I didn't have that confidence with Tata Martino, because Tata is certainly set in his ways. The front four not in tune together. I agree. Cello and Allende were not good. I agree. Wigan in particular was targeted all night. I thought defensively Wigan was fine. It just doesn't do much going forward. And I think that's by design. And I think if you want to get more out of your right back position going forward, it's not Cello. I think that's a personnel thing. Josh says, thoughts on Santi Morales tonight. I thought he looked really nice. We did our preseason preview. Me and Sor did our preseason preview with him. I think it dropped a couple days ago. And I think we were very pessimistic on what he could produce this year from a appearances and minutes perspective. And 2 preseason games, he gets into both of them. I think he fills a role as a number 10 that Inter Miami's not particularly deep in. And I thought he looked nice. I think one of the big things about Santi Morales is that he wasn't necessarily physical enough for the professional game. He clearly has the technical ability, but as a 16-year-old when he was first signed, I don't think people thought he was quite athletic enough or quite big enough to handle the physicality of the MLS. He certainly looks bigger than he did when he first signed. And I thought today he looked as quick and athletic as I've ever seen him. So really, really good signs from Santi Morales. Again, it's 7 minutes, but the little snippets are things to be excited about. SD says, second PK's win, much better than last year preseason. We have 3 awesome goalkeepers. I agree. I remember last year, that Cotton Bowl game against Dallas was so boring. The El Salvador game was so boring. So I agree. This was much better. Circus Fun says the second half was good practice for the defense. Just wish Morales could have scored. Yeah, it would have been an awesome moment for him if he could have finished that one off at the end. Afrobeat says, happy with the clean sheet. Ustari solid. Aviles Allen looked good at center back. Redondo, Boosie can't work together. Allende will get better. Diego Gomez didn't have a great start when he arrived. I mean, I agree with everything you just said. Nuno says, Bright was abysmal tonight. Still, I would like to see him as a DM in a midfield trio. I don't love Mascherano's formation. Yeah, I think that I think Bright, when he comes on, he starts winning the ball. And you notice it when you look for it. Like when it's Busquets and Redondo in the midfield and the back four is like sitting against the touch their own box, and like the opposition team, and tonight it was Universitario, they can just pass the ball around and just poke and prod because nobody ever wins the ball in that back four unless it's one of the center backs coming up for it. But the midfielders, they don't like read and anticipate and intercept the ball in ways that when they don't press and sort of force interceptions, force turnovers in the way that some midfielders can. And Yannick Bright, he does. He fills passing lanes, he fills space defensively, and he just forces interceptions because he's just always in the right spot. So you're right. He certainly had some fouls. I think when he first came on, he missed a pass, but like that's okay. Again, it's preseason. I'm not going to ding anyone for being, having a missed pass or turning the ball over once. Summer Sunshine says Messi was full of energy. I agree. I think Messi looks really, really good to start the season. I'm really happy about that. Need to see a Leo Alfonso in the coming game, says Afrobeats. I think there's something there with Leo Alfonso, but I do think that he's going to have to earn his minutes in practice because I just think the way he came into the club, what he did last year, we saw the potential as the people watching every minute, but the fans. But for Javier Mascherano, I think he's going to have Leo Alfonso lower down the depth chart in his initial rankings, and so Leo Alfonso is going to have to sort of earn his way up the depth chart and turn minutes. But I do think for our bench options, for the options we have off the bench, I think he adds like a goal scoring threat and a danger in the box that I don't think we have a ton of, especially with Leo Campana moving on. Serkis says, wish the bench would start and Barca 4 come on in the 65th minute. I think we might see that on Sunday. But I don't know. Nothing would surprise me at this point because it's a new coach and a new season. So we will see. Mawuli says, Noah Allen has been solid and consistent. I agree. Noah Allen and Toto Aviles, I thought were really good tonight. And Nuno agrees. Aviles and Allen really solid so far. I mean, are we getting to a point, this sounds silly to say, but are we getting to a point where those two are going to start games at center back? Obviously, Maxi Falcone is going to factor into this, but is that pairing above David Martinez? Is that pairing above Ian Frey and Ryan Saylor and potentially putting Busquets? Are they on the verge of starting games for Inter Miami early in the season and important games? They've put in good performances, and that is going to fill you with a lot of confidence if you're Javier Mascherano. Janet says a rough and tough win for Inter Miami, but happy for the win. Vamos, Inter Miami. And then Nuno says a backup striker is a need for sure. I agree. I think a backup striker and I still think they might go get a Baltasar Rodriguez type, a guy who can play as an attacking midfielder or as a wing, one of these wing players, wing midfielders. Was just going to say same thing, a speedy striker needed. I don't think they're going to go for a speedy striker. I think they're going to go for a big guy, if I had to guess. Just my guess. But anyways, guys, to recap, I thought Ustari played really well. I thought it was really nice to see Infre, Crema, Bright, Ruiz come on and Santi Morales and have a nice impact off the bench. I thought some of the starters up front didn't have their best game. I'm pretty concerned about this midfield pairing. I think those two are – listen, I mean, it's the preseason. They have plenty of time to figure it out. Mascherano has plenty of time to say, maybe this doesn't work. Let's try something else. I'm not worried about it yet, but I'm just – I'm thinking this could be a problem if we stubbornly stick with it. But I thought I liked a lot of the performances, especially off the bench tonight. So a lot of positives to take away from it. And I think that for game 2 of the preseason, we should feel pretty good about it. And again, 2 wins, you get that winning mindset, winning culture established in the club, which is also good. Ash says Cello and Aviles need to be backups. They have mid to low football IQ. I think if we can get to the point where Aviles and Cello are backups, then this team's in a great spot. I'll just put it that way. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. I'm not going to go as long as normal without Soar to bounce some ideas off of, but I appreciate you guys being in the chat. Do me a favor, hit the like button. I always appreciate that. And I just wanted to give you guys something because it's Inter Miami football. Let's talk ball. So, all right, guys, thanks again for being here. Thanks again for being in the chat. And I hope you guys have a wonderful night as always. And I will see you guys next time. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.